Hi everyone and welcome to a new tutorial. Apologies for the delay on the previous one, being so busy last week as well, and I've got something I've been working on which I'm quite excited about, which is I created my own synthesizer, and I will be showing you at some point very soon. On this particular tutorial I want to talk about sampling and the creative possibilities that we can actually get. I'm going to be using just the Ableton built-in ones, and I'm going to show you how we can tweak the samples, give them movement, and also how we can get some really cool bass sounds. So this is just a loop I've got going at the moment. So that's at the moment, it's just basically like a stab sound. So let's start exploring this and see what we can do within Simpler in order to give it some movement, right? So it's not so boring. So first things first is when we work with the classic mode, remember that we can use warping, okay? So if I wanted to have a slightly more natural sound to the stab as I go up and down the octaves, then I can potentially use Warp Pro, which is going to keep the essence of the original sample as we transpose. So much cleaner, right? You can hear it. Or I can make it, remember that we can also click on divided by 2 or times 2 in order to make it really snappy. Right, which is really nice, and that's basically works really nicely because of the Warping Pro. It also keeps the envelopes, it keeps the actual movement of the waveform. Even if we transpose up and down or we shrink it, still keeps it quite natural. You can hear the envelope here. Sounds tighter and cleaner when we increase the envelope amount, for example, right? We can make it even faster. So it's like a nice click, or we can potentially extend the length of this on times 2. Remember that when we stretching it, when we doubling the length, it's always going to be harder to get a natural sound. You see that sounds a little bit artificial already. But I like that so far. Okay, so remember that warping can also be extremely important. I think for this sound, I'm going to go with this particular settings. The other thing that can be really interesting is here, I don't know if you noticed, but we got a sample start. So if you don't want every single note to be exactly the same, there's a few things that we can do. So first things is we can potentially randomize with the random LFO here. We can randomize something ever so slightly. So for example, we can affect the pitch a little bit. Let me just make it so it's very obvious. So let's go over here. That's too much. There you go, right? Nice. It's very subtle, but you can hear the movement. The other thing that we can do is we can do random panning, which basically means that every time we hear the sample, it's playing randomly in stereo. I don't like that effect so much. I'm just going to use the spread to give it a little bit of width. Nice. And next thing I'm going to do as well is I'm going to affect how each note plays ever so slightly, so we get a different kind of tonality out of this sample by playing a little bit with the sample start. So I'm gonna, instead of using an LFO, I'm actually going to use this device called Expression Control, and that basically allows me to have a randomizer, which we can set here. Okay, we can set that to random, and we can have a randomizer that affects any parameter within this, which is really cool. I'm gonna map it, I'm gonna make that bipolar, so it is positive and negative, and I'm gonna map this to the sample start. And obviously it's gonna be, I'm gonna make it so it takes over, so it's remote, so we can actually see it. So let's see what that sounds like. That's obviously too much, right? So let's go to the output range and let's just make that less. I'm gonna kill snap as well because I want this to really sort of like just jump through the entire waveform. Right, and you can hear there's a little bit of clickiness because the attack is very fast. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of attack. And let's increase the release as well so it sounds more natural. There you go, let's play that. I got some reverb, so I can add reverb. Let's humanize it as well, so we can have a little bit of a slightly more human feel to it. So the other thing as well that we can do is of course we can filter the sound. So I'm going to use MS-20. I like the MS-20 because it adds character. Let's add a little bit of distortion. Nice. And then add a little bit of envelope to bring the plateau back. You see that kind of shape that it adds to the sound, especially with the resonance, is really interesting. Let's bring the amount a little bit higher so we can hear more of the original plaque. Let's just get a bass sound or bass line out of samples, and we don't even have to use a bass sample. So I'm gonna go over to the packs and let's see what else is there. We can basically find something that has got some low end energy. I found this weird vocal voice which is like, I don't know if I will, but it's got a nice kind of tone to it. For this mode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the classic mode, and I'm actually going to loop the sample so we can get like almost like a cycle, like a very short loop out of this. So I'm going to go over to the length and use crossfade as well just to enhance it so it sounds a little bit smoother, so it doesn't sound so jumpy. And in order for this to work, we need to change the sample start a little bit. Nice. Okay, cool. So now we're getting somewhere. Right, let's get some release. This obviously the attack is too fast. There you go. Right, so there's some low end energy within that sample, but obviously it's got loads of extra energy that I don't really need. So I'm going to filter that as well, and I'm going to go over to the MS-20. I always go for that one because I just love the sound of it. And let's just put an in spectrum analyzer so I can see what I'm doing. Right, so it's too low, right? So let's, there, that's okay. Nice. And if I wanted to add a little bit of plugins, I can play around with the amount. Right, so as you can see here, what I've done is I just opened the length a little bit. So it almost sounds like a reece, isn't it? And obviously, I think the pluckiness is not really working for me, so I'm just going to bring it down. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open it gradually. There you go, that's nice. There you go, I think that's good. So let's just play a bass line. So remember that this was originally a vocal sample. I'm just gonna get this and just play with it. I'm gonna kill the stub for a minute so we can hear it. Nice. It's got a little bit of, you can hear that it's got a little bit of width. So I'm just going to use a utility here just to kind of like make the bass mono. And also I'm going to use an EQ to kind of give it a little bit of a bump on the low end, because yeah, I want it to be proper subby and bassy, and at the moment it's not to my liking. So I'm going to use a low shelf, and literally with the low shelf I'm just going to boost the low end just to bring that not too bad for a vocal sample, right? Again, with this we can add some modulation, maybe like play around with volume. Nice, right? So you can hear that that was originally a vocal sample. Literally, obviously we have to find something that has got a little bit of low end energy in order to kind of like make use of it, because otherwise if we got something that's high pitch and we try to turn it into a bass, it's not really gonna work. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this. I just wanted to show you some ideas and how we can actually do things, and how we can actually use sampling as a way to enhance the track and make it sound like a really nice synth, or make it sound like a really nice bass, and just make it work with the rest of the elements. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. And if you got any questions, leave us a comment as well. Remember as well that I am teaching Ableton as well. So if you want to learn from me, you can find details in the description below. And also I've got my preset pack as well, and I've got my own sound design module if you're interested. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and on to the next one. Take care, guys.